Hello, and welcome to Candidates Up Front. This is a public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. I'm Judith Cranus, a member of the League. Our May 17th primary election is coming up, and because of redistricting following the census, there are new districts and many candidates. The primary election is when the main political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, choose their candidates. You must be registered to vote as a Republican or as a Democrat to choose your party's candidates. And the deadline to register is May 2nd. Now, we are interviewing candidates in contested races. That means a contest within the party. In each election district, the candidates will get the same basic questions and have the same amount of time to answer them. There are 4 Republicans competing in the 6th congressional district. They are, in alphabetical order, Guy Cariocci, Steve Finelli, Regina Morrow, got that right, and Ron Vogel, and I think it's Shiraki for the guy's last name, sorry about that. The winner will compete with Democrat Chrissy Houlihan in the fall. Now, this district is in the southern section of Berks County, including the city of Reading, all the way down to New Morgan. The U.S. House of Representatives proposes and passes federal laws, which must also be approved by the U.S. Senate. They act on domestic and international issues. Members of the House serve 2-year terms and earn $174,000 per year, plus benefits and expenses. And please note that the opinions expressed in this interview are those of the candidate, not necessarily those of the League of Women Voters or Berks Community Television. Our interview this time is with Regina Morrow. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here, giving me this opportunity to talk to everybody, get them to get to know me.
Well, we would like you to tell our viewers all about yourself and why you are running, but we're going to limit you to about 3 minutes to do this.
It's really hard. I was telling you before that I'm Cuban American. I'm the very first one in my family to be blessed to be born in this country. So why I'm running really has a lot to do with my upbringing. The things that my family went through in Cuba, all the liberties that they lost, it's made in them very much lovers and defenders of freedom and liberty. So I don't know if you're aware, but the Cuban American community happens to be the only minority group whose majority is overwhelmingly Republican. And it goes back to this obsession with anything that resembles socialism for us to try to defend our country, America, against it. So that's the main reason I ran. Also, even though I'm not a politician, by profession, I've always been very involved or very informed with current issues for years now. And I grew very concerned about the direction of our country and our district specifically. Some of the things that I saw the Democrat incumbent promoting gave me great concern. And I think that I'm equipped to actually jump in and actually give the other side of the conversation.
And do you have specific goals you'd like to accomplish in Congress?
There are several things that concern me a great deal. But I would say probably towards the top is education. I grew up in a household where education was paramount. We were taught, myself and my siblings, that you make yourself an asset. At the end of the day, opportunities come to those that present a benefit to an employer, et cetera. So we always look for excellence in excellence, not necessarily in outcome, but in your effort, just to put everything you can into it. But I am concerned about the inequality of the quality of education. And I'm also concerned that many think it's a matter of throwing more money at the problem, which is not the case in every school district. So there's a lot of work to be done, hopefully in partnership with the private sector. Not everything is about increasing the size of government. So that's probably one of the first areas that I will be focusing on.
Well, we're going to focus for a minute now on international affairs, which Congress also deals with. We've seen the war devastation in the Ukraine, and Americans want our nation to help. But I think most of us are very concerned that military help could trigger a nuclear war, and that obviously would not be good for humankind at all. What do you think our nation should do, but should not do, to protect democracies abroad? What kinds of things, tools do we have? How far do we go?
We have always had a role where we not just promote, but we defend liberties, here and abroad. The concern that I have is the extreme positions in situations like this, where it's either go in and do whatever it takes to defend Ukraine or keep your hands completely off Ukraine. We always have to look at the consequences of whichever direction we go. And for example, protecting their airspace is something that's very contentious. Some people say that we should, some people say that we shouldn't. If we're dealing with a person such as Putin, who is absolutely, he's a ruthless man. We know the atrocities that he has committed, not just now, but in the past. We had to be very cautious that this man is going to be provoked into doing something extreme, including, deploying any nuclear weapons. So we have to evaluate our options. Always try to defend our neighbors and help that need help. But we need to look at how that would impact America. And if, for example, is this going to provoke him into unleashing something very horrible on the American people? We need to look at our own first.
In situations like this, should we be working always with allies, or should we be working unilaterally by ourselves?
We cannot do anything by ourselves, whether it's in your personal life or at the, in the world stage. So it is important, however, to align yourself with the right countries, that you can count on, that are going to pull their own weight. I'm not in favor of, having allies just for the sake of it, but then end up, footing the bill, which we've seen happen too many times, and having our taxpayers being abused. But no, it's absolutely for us not to go it alone now.
Berks County is 50% agricultural. We know that growing seasons have changed, and our storms that we have here are much more destructive. What should the federal government do, or should the federal government do something to help keep the planet habitable?
This again is something where we need to seek balance. Extreme solutions are not the answer. Either ignore the environment or make it all about the environment, because everything has consequences, just like we were talking before. So we have to protect our environment. We cannot destroy it. But we have to make sure that we don't have policies in place that are going to end up harming other sectors of our economy or harming our families. So yes, we should do everything to evaluate all kinds of energy sources, okay? And just understand that we are equipped to be the one country in the world that can make everything, we can make sure that we do it responsibly. If we're not at the point where that we can, for example, when it comes to energy, which is absolutely needed by the agricultural sector as well, if we are in a position where we cannot let go of certain sources of fuel, for example, we should not be automatically deferring to other countries to supply it when we have no idea what they're doing. We have an idea they're not being as judicious as they should be. So again, it's all about balance and making sure that we take all the consequences into account.
There's been a lot of talk that reducing our carbon emissions is expensive. But I'm wondering how that compares to the expenses in taking care of the destruction that occurs in these violent storms. Is that something where we should have a different balance than we have now?
For reducing carbon emissions?
The fact that it costs so much to repair the damage of huge floodings, the damage of hurricanes, the damage of wildfires, that's a cost we're not balancing against the cost of cleaner energy.
That has to be taken into account, that it's not just the cost, but the human toll that brings. But again, I don't see any balance in the approach. It seems like we go all in for completely, and I'm thinking of the Green New Deal. I mean, I read the bill, and it seemed like it took it so far, okay, that it did come at other added, costs, human and financial, beyond what they were trying to repair.
How about your thoughts on whether climate change is affecting our national security?
I'm not. I don't believe that it is to the degree that it is being portrayed. I do believe that yes, it is occurring, but not to the degree that is being portrayed, not as a justification for the types of measures that our friends on the left are proposing.
We're going to switch topics and talk about women who have been hugely impacted by this pandemic. And lack of childcare is said to be a major factor. What will you advocate for in Congress to help women navigate their dual roles as moms and employees?
That is something that I have looked at very closely. For instance, one thing that gave me great concern is something that I saw in the Build Back Better bill, which is huge. But there are certain things that are in there that absolutely would impact the quality and the availability of childcare to the average, let's say, working mom. If you think, for instance, of a single mother, she has 3 children, okay, and she has to work. She's probably also going to have some neighbors in the same situation where it's other, single parents, and they have to go work. And this one mother says, you know what, we got this. Bring me the kids, I will take care of them. They're like my kids already. We've been together for so long, right? While you go work. Well, there are provisions in that bill that actually requirements for childcare that are absolutely unsurmountable for that mother doing this. Whether it's requiring a degree to have somebody on staff with a college degree, that's not realistic. And I'm very concerned that we're actually taking options away from the average, like I said, single mom, from doing this for her community. So childcare access is very important, particularly for empowering women to have a healthy balance between taking care of their children, but also be a provider, or pursuing a career. So it is absolutely extremely important. And I do believe that is not getting enough attention, because in Congress, I believe that we don't even have 29% representation being women. That is a huge problem. Men and women actually have this, they care about the same things, but they prioritize them differently, which is good because we complement each other. But when you have such an imbalance, if women represent about 51% of the population, but we don't even have a third in Congress, the types of things that we prioritize, such as education, such as childcare, is not going to be at the forefront. We're going to see more things that have to do with the priorities that men have, which we know that they're concerns, but we're prioritizing them differently.
Thank you. We're going on to a question just on one we thought of that's not been phrased this way before. Going back to our national constitution, the preamble says we unite to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. So we were thinking, if we look at those two ideals, that absolute individual freedom that we seem to like here, and general welfare, which we also support, we're very communally oriented, looking at them as opposite ends of a continuum, Where in that line would you put yourself? How do you view that continuum?
To me, I believe in both, obviously.
They're both ideals.
They're
yes.
both ideal. But this is the thing. We should absolutely take care of our children, our elderly, our handicapped, okay? Anybody who's not able to fulfill whatever role they needed to be able to sustain themselves fully. Having said that, I also want to add that we have too many problems in our country and increasing debt. So we also need to focus in assisting, like I said, our veterans. We need to make sure that we take care of them before we take care of our neighbors. To me, and of course, I'm talking now about any kind of benefit that is extended to undocumented immigrants. Okay, there's a little fact that doesn't get any coverage, and that is that even the COVID relief checks were actually written about in Mexico as a source of revenues for the government, because the monies were being sent, via remittances to government. So on the welfare question, I do believe that we have to take care of our own, but it's not something that should be extended to our neighbors' needs. So if you're an able-bodied American that you can go to work, then we have to make sure that you have access to the skills to make you able to provide for yourself.
If we were to look at this in a free speech, which obviously we have free speech, but not so far that we can yell fire in a crowded theater, that's that communal welfare that we have. How do you apply that to something like social media? That's a hard one.
No, it's not. It's very easy for me.
Oh, okay.
Remember,
go ahead.
my family comes from a country where there
there
were
was no free
consequences
speech,
for.
yes.
And I'm very, very concerned that again we're going to the extreme. We're allowing technology companies to go to the extreme to censoring speech that they don't agree with. If you look at where most of these companies are located, you tend to have like-minded individuals in that industry, in that region. And I'm concerned that the algorithms that they are using to, in effect, silence those that they disagree with are not healthy for us. We got to where we got because of our freedom of speech, because not one side is always 100% right. The truth is always somewhere in the middle. And if we shut the one conversation on one side, we're not going to evolve, we're not going to grow. And it's of great concern also that inadvertently, we are creating a new normal for next generations, and that's something we cannot afford to have.
Okay, we have about less than a minute left, so
Okay.
I can give you 20 seconds to say goodbye, because I have some more information on voting to give.
20 seconds. I just hope that everybody gives an opportunity to tell you the message that I have, but more importantly, I need to listen from people. For me to be an effective voice in Congress for women, for the Hispanic community, I need to hear from you. And I would encourage you to go to, it's Regina, spelled like Regina Morrow, for Congress.com, and try to get in touch with our campaign. I would love to come and talk to more groups. But again, mostly listen. I need to listen to you to be able to be an effective voice in Congress for you.
Thank you. And before we close, I want to remind our viewers that we do have other candidates in this race, and I encourage you to watch those interviews as well. If you're not sure of your voting status, go to votepa.gov. You can check your status, you can locate your polling place and apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. Then check the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. There you can confirm your district and get more information on the candidates. And if you still have election questions, Berks County Election Services will help. Email them at elections@countyofberks.com or phone them at 610-478-6490. And for information about our new districts and all voting issues, do watch League of Women Voters presents Ready, Set, Vote. That'll be on BCTV beginning April 12th. Thank you for watching Candidates Up Front. Good day.